Cool. Okay, so let's talk about the prevention through deterrence policy. Um, so the prevention through deterrence policy is a Clinton-era policy. It was drafted by Sandia National Laboratories, a Lockheed Martin subsidiary. It was drafted in 1993 per the White House's request. Gotta love Bill Clinton. The Clintons. I'm saying that sarcastically. I hate them. So I just want to clarify. Make sure you guys know.
There's no room for the Clintons.
There's no room for the Clintons in this room. So this it was. I just want to repeat. It was drafted by Sandia National Laboratories, a Lockheed Martin subsidiary. So if you're already on the stream, already listening, should be familiar with Lockheed Martin. If not, that's a different rant for a different time. But they are profiteers and they are awful people. So how has that played into the work that you guys are doing? And here we are, 20-something years later, and it's still there. It's gotten worse. So how is this playing into what you guys are doing?
So I actually did not know about it until I went to Tucson. I was there with No More Deaths, No Más Muertes. So they do humanitarian aid in the desert. So they do like water drops and, there's food and providing shelter, right? So that's humanitarian aid is a right.
Mm-hmm.
It's not illegal. And so that's actually how I found out about that, because Arizona was very, very affected.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the spots where we did do water drops and where they do water drops, because there's more than one location, are sites where people have actually died, like human remains have been found there, and it's directly due to this policy, because there were already established routes, they were safe routes, and then, Clinton came in and he was like, well, we need to close these safe routes and really push people into the desert is already incredibly dangerous,
Right.
but pushing people into these, longer routes and more dangerous routes, and a lot of people have died directly because of that. The way that I think of stuff like that, I think we need to reframe how we talk about these people, because they're murderers, that's how I see them. It's if you're creating a policy or someone's gonna die, or you're making sure to maneuver them into a situation where they're gonna die, then you're a murderer. It doesn't always have to be directly by my hand with a knife. It's
Yeah.
that's just my opinion.
Not to get too Marxist, but there's a term for that called social murder, where basically if you're doing a policy, it's going to result in deaths, and it is murder. It's still murder. And the reason why we're talking now about Clinton, I talked about Obama before, is because it's important to recognize, yes, Republicans are awful, but this is a bipartisan policy of suppressing people. So the term, it was called Operation Gatekeeper. What it was basically a way of closing off those areas, those paths that people use, by militarizing the border, sending more and more troops and military where they're as if it's a war zone, and treating these people who are fleeing there as if they are invaders. It
Right.
reinforces that mentality. And this also it was in 1994 that this passed, and it was the same time as NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, passed, which decimated much of the rural areas of Mexico by flooding the country with cheap corn from the United States, thus undercutting the ability of people to make a living through traditional corn production in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So it forced them to flee their country, but at the same time, on the other side, when they got here, they're going to find the military that's going to be greeting them. So, this policy continued, of course, then under Bush, and then it also happened under Obama. And in fact, Obama, when they started to do child separation policies, they specifically mentioned, in fact, Hillary Clinton, again, specifically mentioned that the reason why they were doing these policies was to act as a deterrent against people coming to this country illegally, as they like to say. So there's plenty of bipartisanship. In fact, just yesterday, I think it was New York Times published, and ProPublica published an article about the McKinsey consultant group, which Pete Buttigieg used to work for. And the report, because basically I think it was the Obama administration had reached out to McKinsey to write a report on how we could more effectively, again, deter people from coming to this country. So McKinsey produced a report which said that we should cut the amount of funds available for food for people and shelter, and even ICE in this report said that that was barbaric and inhumane. And this is, the McKinsey consultant group is considered, fairly moderate, mainstream consultant. This isn't some right-wing think tank here. This is the mainstream of American consultancy, like Lockheed Martin,
like
etc.
Lockheed Martin,
right? So all of these are on board, and we have a major Democratic candidate who worked for that, who's running for office now, who worked for this company. So this is why when people hear us, for example, shit on the Obamas or shit on the Clintons, it's not through anything other than recognition of what they've done and what they continue to do.
I always tell people, particularly like my more liberal centered friends, it's like, I'm not pulling this out of my ass. Like, this is real stuff. And that McKinsey group, like, they're actual Democratic consultants. Like, they help different politicians. They are a PR firm, essentially, like, if you crystallize it. And going back to, like, marketing real quick, marketing is not just used for consumer products. It's also used for politicians, which arguably have become consumer products. So it's just something to just keep in mind that, ICE is using them. Also, was it last? No, it wasn't last year. Was I doing stuff last year? Yeah, last year. Actually, I can't remember it, but there was a Democratic spokesperson who worked with the Clintons during their administration, and they're the spokesperson for Southwest Keys, which is a concentration camp that's here in Houston, but also everywhere else. I have that article somewhere. I don't remember it right now because it's been a hot minute, but that happened too. Like, we have these Democratic PR firms and Democratic consultants working with ICE and with these concentration camps to put out a good PR image. So that's something to keep in mind. And this, right? Orwellian. Where are you? Oh, we're really good on time, guys. So, talking about that. So there's this article that I was looking at yesterday. It was called The Prevention Through Deterrence Strategy, shared by the El Paso shooter and the U.S. Border Patrol. And I wanted to just kind of talk about that for a moment, because the article talks about how the El Paso shooter had a manifesto that said, if we can scare the Hispanics away from here by, shooting them up, it will prevent them from coming. And it connected that recent El Paso shooting to this Clinton-era policy, saying, if we can scare them from coming, they'll be less likely to come. Which, can we take a hot minute, El Paso right-wing manifesto thing connected to Democratic Bill Clinton? If we can scare them, we can keep them away. How fucked up is that? Ooh.
Well, I see, they're kind of like a pendulum, right? So, the Democrats and the Republicans, and it swings back and forth, and it's so when Democrats are like, oh, well, we're going to pass this reform, and it's going to make things better for a few people, and then Republicans come into office and knock it out, and back and forth, but ultimately, the center is still there, right? It's still maintaining the status quo, and I'm not saying don't vote. Obviously, you should vote, but I mean, we need to be realistic about how the parties work and keep each other really in balance to still maintain the same bullshit.
To specifically still maintain white supremacist bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? Because we have to recognize our capitalist structure is rooted in white supremacy, and everything that's happening that we're seeing is rooted in white supremacy.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.
Status